Welcome to round 1 of our World's 2010 Throwback held at Full Grip Games. Thank you guys so much for the feedback and the support on the last 2 Deck Museum videos. They were really dwarfed my gameplay videos by comparison. After the conclusion of these rounds, there will be 2 more showcases featuring archetypes represented from this series and my previous 2010 series. So let's get into the games. On the left we have Will, piloting LuxChomp. Will's game plan is to use a combination of Garchomp C's Dragon Rush and Luxray GL's Bright Look Poké Power to take quick and easy prize cards, using the Cyrus's Conspiracy engine and a suite of other SP attackers. On the right, we have William, piloting Flygon Dusknoir. William's game plan is to set up and attack with Dusknoir level X until it goes down, turning itself into a stadium through the Ectoplasm Poké Power to spread damage on the opponent's Pokémon between turns and pivot into stalling tactics like Mewtwo's Psy Barrier or Flygon using Trapinch's Retreat-locking Sand Tomb attack. William wins a flip and starts us off. He draws and benches Duskull, attaching a Psychic Energy to it. He attacks with Darkest Grace, searching his deck for a Pokémon that evolves from one of his bench, finding Dusclops, and putting damage counter on Spiritomb. Will draws and plays Cyrus's Conspiracy, searching his deck for a Team Galactic's Convention, Supporter, and Basic Energy, finding SP Radar, Pokemon Collector, and a Psychic Energy, putting them into his hand. He benches Garchomp C. He attaches a Psychic Energy to Azelf and attacks with Lockup, dealing 20 damage and preventing Spiritomb from retreating during William's next turn. William draws for turn and attaches a Psychic Energy to Dusclops. He benches another Spiritomb and plays Professor Oak's New Theory, shuffling his hand to his deck and drawing 6 cards. He attacks with Darkness Grace, putting a damage counter on Spiritomb and searching his deck, evolving Dusclops into Dusknoir. Will draws for turn and plays Pokemon Collector, searching his deck for 3 basic Pokemon, finding Uxie, Luxray GL, and Unknown Q, putting them into his hand. He benches Luxray GL and attaches a Lightning Energy to it. He attacks with Azelf's Lockup, dealing 20 damage and taking the knockout on Spiritomb, drawing a prize card. William promotes Dusknoir and draws for turn. He attaches a Psychic Energy to Dusknoir and uses its Shadow Command Poké Power, drawing 2 cards, putting 2 damage counters on Dusknoir, and discarding until William has 6 cards in his hand, discarding a Psychic Energy and Flygon. He plays Luxury Ball, searching his deck and finding a Pokemon, finding Baltoy, benching it. He plays Pawn, shuffling his hand to his deck and drawing 6 cards. He levels up Dusknoir and attacks with Night Spin, taking the knockout on Azelf thanks to weakness, and preventing all effects of attacks including damage done to Dusknoir by Pokemon that have 2 or less energy attached to them during Will's next turn. Will promotes Luxray and draws for turn. He benches Unknown Q. He attaches a double colorless energy to Garchomp and an energy gain to Luxray. He plays SP Radar, putting a card from his hand on top of his deck, searching up an SP Pokemon, finding Luxray level X, putting it into his hand. He levels up Luxray, using the Bright Look Poké Power, bringing up William's Baltoy. He attaches an energy gain to Garchomp C. He benches Uxie, using the setup Poké Power, drawing until he has 7 cards in hand, with Will drawing 4 cards. He uses the Quick Poké Power, attaching Unknown Q to Uxie as a Pokemon tool, reducing Uxie's retreat cost by 1. He plays Pokemon Communication, shuffling Uxie level X back into his deck, searching up a Garchomp C, benching it. He plays Judge, with both players shuffling their hands into their deck, drawing 4 cards. He attacks with Flash Impact, taking the knockout and dealing 30 damage to his own Garchomp C. William promotes Dusknoir level X and draws for turn. He benches Mewtwo and plays Roseanne's Research, searching for up to 2 in any combination of basic Pokemon and basic energy, finding Duskull and a Psychic Energy, putting them into his hand. He attacks with Night Spin, dealing 50 damage and preventing all effects including damage done to Dusknoir by Pokemon that have 2 or less energy attached to them during Will's next turn. Will draws for turn and plays Premier Ball, searching his deck for a level X Pokemon, finding Garchomp C level X, putting it into his hand. He retreats into Garchomp C and levels it up, triggering Garchomp's Healing Breath Poké Power, healing all damage from each SP Pokemon in play. He attaches a Call Energy to Garchomp and attacks with Dragon Rush, dealing 80 damage to Dusknoir. William draws for turn and plays Roseanne's Research, searching up an Azelf and a Trapinch into his hand. He attacks with Damage Even, putting 8 damage counters on Will's benched Garchomp C, taking the knockout and drawing a prize card. Will draws for turn and benches another Garchomp C. He retreats into Luxray GL and plays Poketurn, returning Luxray and all cards attached to his hand, promoting Garchomp C level X back into the active spot. He rebenches Luxray. He attaches a double colorless energy to Garchomp and attacks with Dragon Rush, taking the knockout on Dusknoir, and Will takes a prize card. Dusknoir's Ectoplasm Poké Power triggers, putting the level X into play as a stadium. In between turns, Dusknoir level X puts 1 damage counter on all of Will's Pokemon in play. William promotes Mewtwo and draws for turn. He benches Azelf and attempts to use the Time Walk Poké Power. Will plays Power Spray, preventing the effect of Time Walk. William plays Bebe Search. putting a card from his hand on top of his deck, searching up a Pokemon, and putting it into his hand, finding Flygon. He benches Trapinch, playing Rare Candy, evolving it immediately into Flygon. He attaches a Psychic Energy to Flygon. He attacks with Mewtwo's Energy Absorption, attaching 2 Psychic Energy from his discard pile to Mewtwo. In between turns, Dusknoir level X puts 1 damage counter on all of Will's Pokemon in play. Will draws for turn. He retreats into Luxray and evolves it into Luxray level X, using the Bright Look Pokepower, bringing up Spiritomb into the active. He attaches a Lightning Energy to Luxray and sends it back to William. In between turns, Dusknoir level X puts 1 damage counter on all of Will's Pokemon in play. William draws and plays Bebe's Search, putting a card from his hand on top of his deck, searching up a Flygon level X into his hand. He passes back to Will. Dusknoir level X puts 1 damage counter on all of Will's Pokemon in play. Will draws for turn and passes it back, with Dusknoir level X triggering in between turns. William draws and benches Duskull. He attacks with Darkness Grace, putting a damage counter on Spiritomb, searching up a Dusclops, evolving Duskull. In between turns, Dusknoir level X puts 1 damage counter on all of Will's Pokemon in play. Will draws for turn and passes it back, with Dusknoir triggering again, taking the knockout on Uxie and drawing a prize card. William draws for turn and attaches a double colorless energy to Flygon. He attacks with Darkness Grace, putting a damage counter on Spiritomb, searching up a Dusknoir and evolving Dusclops. Dusknoir level X triggers in between turns, taking the knockout on Garchomp C, and William takes another prize card. Will draws for turn and plays Aaron's Collection, returning Garchomp C and a Psychic Energy from his discard pile to his hand. He benches Garchomp C and attaches a Psychic Energy to Luxray. He attacks with Flash Impact, taking the knockout on Spiritomb, dealing 30 damage to his own Garchomp C, and Will takes a prize card. In between turns, Dusknoir level X puts 1 damage counter on all of Will's Pokemon in play. William promotes Flygon and draws for turn. He levels up Flygon and attacks with Extreme Attack, taking the knockout on Garchomp C level X and drawing a prize card. In between turns, Dusknoir puts 1 damage counter on all of Will's Pokemon in play. Flygon's Wind Erosion Pokebody triggers in between turns, discarding the top card of Will's deck. Will draws for turn and plays Cyrus's Conspiracy, searching his deck for an out. Staring down a lethal trigger of Dusknoir's Ectoplasm, Will concedes the match to William. That was certainly a battle of wills. Despite Will's aggressive start, William was able to stabilize in the mid-game off a key misplay from Will bringing up the Spiritomb with the Bright Look Pokepower before attaching an energy gain to it. With the additional stalled-out turns, William's Dusknoir level X Stadium was able to spread a significant amount of damage onto Will's board, softening up his entire board and taking 2 knockouts on its own. The most valuable card in today's game definitely goes to Dusknoir level X. Dusknoir has one of, if not the most unique Pokepower in the entire game, being the only Pokemon that can turn itself into a stadium. Many decks in this format run few to no stadiums, and if left unchecked, Dusknoir can rapidly build up damage on the opponent's board, especially when paired with walling or stalling strategies like Spiritomb's Trainer Lock, Mewtwo level X's Cybarrier walling unevolved Pokemon, or Flygon retreat locking the active through Trapinch and Memory Berry. If you'd like to see more rounds, check out the streamed rounds over on Tricky Gym, linked in the description. And tune in next time for round 2 of our World's 2010 Throwback Tournament. This has been the Holland Scientist. Until next time.